Welcome to Studio 122. I'm Cheney Mays. This is our Halloween segment, and our own studio reporter, Sydney Basie, is going to show us what happens when the costume fun goes a little too far.
Hey there, I'm Sydney Basie from Studio 122, and today we'll be talking about Halloween costumes. For most college students, Halloween is one of the best times of the year, but what happens when someone goes a little bit too far with the Halloween costumes and it becomes offensive? I've gathered some costumes from the top 10 most offensive costumes list, and we're going to get some of the students' opinions about them.
It's stylish, it could be stylish, but no, I don't like it.
Do you find it offensive?
Very. It's a person, like this is his life, this is not something that should be made fun of. People go through this on a daily basis where they transform from men to women, so why just like put his whole process out there and make fun of it like that?
No, not really. It's a nice little costume, be an Indian for Halloween. I wouldn't see anything wrong with it.
I feel like it's extremely offensive, even though I don't have any personal connection. I think a lot of costumes that are have been offensive, should I say, are because they have nothing to do with it. They're just talking about how it's being a joke. So if it's hurt someone, why would you dress up in something that you know would eventually cause issues for someone else?
Shows white supremacism, and that's not all right. Honestly, I probably would come up to him and say it was distasteful, and I might even leave the party.
Joining us from the SEEDS office, we have Joshua Moore and Myra Martinez. Welcome. First of all, I want to ask, what is the SEEDS office here on campus?
The SEEDS office the SEEDS actually stands for Serving Engaged, Empowered, and Diverse Students. We are the Diversity and Inclusion Office on campus for students, and so a lot of what we do is doing education around diversity and inclusion and social justice. We've hosted various events such as our Courageous Conversations, where we basically opened up our office as an outlet for students to come and really voice their opinions on what's going on in society now, from police brutality to marriage equality to the perception of women of color in the media and how that affects our younger generation, how they view their self-confidence. From our cultural celebrations from Hispanic Heritage Month to LGBT History Month. We've actually just celebrated Ally Week about 2 weeks ago. We collaborated with the Counseling Center's Safe Zone Ally program and hosted a lot of events centered around LGBT History Month. And then next semester we'll be working on Black History Month, Women's History Month, and Asian Pacific Islander Month.
Okay, all right. So what are you doing for Halloween?
Recently, we just partnered with the Office of Attorney Story to Life and the Residence Hall Association to put out a Halloween checklist, things to ask yourself when you're choosing a Halloween costume. Is this offensive to another culture, someone's sexual orientation? Am I mocking something? Do I self-identify as part of this certain community or race or culture or anything? And those things is what you should ask when you're choosing your costume. If you answer yes to any of those, the costume is more than likely offensive and you probably shouldn't wear it.
Have you ever, either of you personally, come across an offensive costume?
We actually had a discussion in the office previously, and we talked about actually different scenarios, and people have come and asked us now what is appropriate, and somebody asked us if being a frat boy for Halloween would be offensive, and we said it depends on the negative connotation, because there's definitely negativity within that. Different organizations view that differently, so for us it's always be more culturally sensitive, and especially like when we hear about people who dress up for like things like Black Lives Matters and do blackface, we're very, very sensitive to that. And I know we had a situation where there was a Mexican party where they were crossing the border, and that was pretty much the thing. So very culturally insensitive, and those are things we come across in the office that we really like to discuss with the students.
I can't believe people actually do that. That's crazy to me. If you see someone in a costume that is offensive to you, how could you possibly approach them and let them know that they're being offensive?
Considering we're on a college campus and knowing the political part of doing things, if we were to see something, more than likely we would contact, do some research, find out what they're a part of. and who they're connected to, and reach out to those individuals and kind of explain to them what's going on. Maybe schedule a meeting to really talk about the behind the scenes kind of issues that's going on, like really how others perceive the costume. They may not have seen anything wrong with it, but talking about if they were to dress up as an Indian, how the Native American community may find it offensive because that's not how Indians do. That's not how they dress on a daily basis, and each feather has a meaning, and they don't really understand and know that. So really kind of doing more so education than scolding.
Absolutely. So do you agree that you could wear a costume, say like Native American, without being offensive? Or is that just crossing the line altogether?
I still believe it's crossing the line because usually that's a ceremonial dress, and you're going to a party. So what kind of ceremony are you really participating in? So yes, I would still think that would still be offensive.
Okay, all right. Could you tell me a couple of costumes that you've seen lately that are offensive, especially now, like what's popular right now?
Just even looking at some of the examples that were shown in the previous interview, I know when the death of Trayvon Martin happened, that was a big deal where people were really using that as a way to kind of have fun with it. And really when you look at the scenario and really what happened, there's nothing funny about it. So really that's really sensitive to the African American community, that's really sensitive to our young black men, and even considering his parents. Like his parents see these things on social media and whatnot, so nobody's really taking into the matter of their feelings. One costume that I really had to have a conversation with some of our African American men is the cast of Scooby-Doo, and how usually 9 times out of 10, the Scooby is the black male of the bunch, and really having a conversation of really what that means, being a black male and being demoted down to being an animal, being a dog, and really going back through history, really how we were treated, how African American men were treated from slavery through civil rights movement, even to now, how we are kind of dehumanized in a sense, and really having that conversation.
That is so true. I didn't think about it like that. Well, let's take a look at some appropriate costumes to wear during Halloween.
For Halloween, I'm going to dress up as a grape. I'm going to put balloons, rubber balloons on me, and I'm going to take my little sister out trick-or-treating.
I plan to go trick-or-treating and spend time with my friends as I dress as a black G.I. Joe.
I'm going to be Banana for Halloween, and I'm going to take my sister out trick-or-treating for the weekend.
All right, so y'all want to tell us what y'all are being for Halloween?
For the past 31 years of my life, I have been myself. Growing up, we really didn't celebrate Halloween in my household, and so really we would use that evening as a way to really fellowship with our church family and really spend more time with the church, not so much out celebrating Halloween. So I've never really dressed up.
We could take an example from you. All right, well, thank y'all for joining us so much today. I'm Chaney Mays, and this is Studio 122. The right thing to say